You know, Pedro Almodóvar's film, The Skin I Live In, is way more than just a movie. It's a deeply disturbing psychological thriller that takes you into the darkest corners of obsession, trauma, and what it even means to be you. And man, it is a story that sticks with you, and it forces you to ask some really uncomfortable questions.
And really, it all boils down to this one central, incredibly unsettling question. If you change someone's body, can you actually change who they are on the inside? Can you rewrite their very identity? Okay, let's get into this.
So the setup for this is just wild. We have this brilliant plastic surgeon, Dr. Robert Ledgard, who's completely haunted by the death of his wife. So what does he do? He kidnaps a young man, Vicente, locks him away for years, and then, step by step, surgically transforms him into a living, breathing copy of his dead wife. He even renames him Vera. I mean, we're talking about a horrifying story of complete control, trauma, and the deliberate dismantling of a human soul.
To really get what's going on here, we have to dissect the minds of the people involved. So, let's open up our first case file, a deep dive into the anatomy of the monster himself, Dr. Robert Ledgard.
Okay, the first lens we can use to understand Robert is obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, or OCPD. Now, it's super important you don't mix this up with OCD. OCD is about having unwanted thoughts and repetitive behaviors. OCPD is different. It's a deep-seated personality pattern, a relentless need for order, perfection, and control that the person with it thinks is completely normal and right.
And wow, does this fit Robert's character like a glove. You see it in the fanatical perfectionism of his surgery, you see it in his obsessive, overwhelming need to control every single thing about Vera's life, and you see it in his chilling, emotional coldness. He doesn't see a person, he sees a project, something to be perfected. But look, OCPD, it doesn't quite explain the sheer cold-blooded cruelty of what he does, right? For that, we have to go darker. We have to talk about psychopathy. This is a disorder defined by, well, a terrifying emptiness where empathy and guilt should be, mixed with some masterful manipulation and antisocial behavior.
And Robert? Oh, he is basically the textbook definition. There is zero empathy for what Vicente is going through. He uses him like a tool, a piece of clay to sculpt his fantasy. Imprisoning someone, performing surgery after surgery on them against their will, and not feeling a single shred of guilt, that is classic 101 psychopathic thinking.
So where does all this horror even come from? It's not just pure abstract evil. It's born from a profound, festering trauma, the death of his wife. This isn't normal grieving. This is something else, what professionals call complicated grief. It's this persistent, intense state where his mind just refuses to accept the loss, and instead, it launches this twisted, horrific project to surgically reverse it.
Okay, so we've got the psychological labels down, but let's go a level deeper. What could actually be going on inside Robert's brain that allows him to be so monstrous? Yeah, let's get into the neurobiology of it.
All right, think about the reward system in a typical brain. You get a little dopamine hit from things like connecting with friends or, accomplishing a goal. But in a psychopathic brain like Robert's, it's believed that reward circuit gets hijacked. That dopamine rush doesn't come from connection. It comes from power and control. For him, having total dominance over Vera, that's his fix. It's his drug.
Next up, let's look at the amygdala. This is kind of like our brain's alarm system for fear and empathy. In a healthy brain, when we see someone else hurting, our amygdala lights up. We feel for them. But in a psychopathic brain, that area is often underactive. It just doesn't fire the same way. This explains so much about Robert's inability to feel guilt or to even register the agony he's causing. It's like he's emotionally blind.
And then you've got the big one, the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as the CEO of your brain. It's in charge of right and wrong, of impulse control. Research suggests that in psychopaths, this whole region can be damaged or even physically smaller. It's like he's driving a high-performance car with no brakes and absolutely no moral GPS.
Okay, we have to switch gears now. We've looked at the monster. Now, let's look at what he created. We have to pivot to the other side of this nightmare. This is the story of how you erase a person. This is Vicente's case file.
Robert's method, it wasn't random. It was a cold, calculated, step-by-step deconstruction of a person. Step 1, he takes Vicente's body, surgically reshaping his physical form against his will. Step 2, he takes his gender, forcing him through a sex change. And finally, step 3, he takes his name, the most fundamental piece of his identity, and replaces it with Vera.
So what does this do to a person? Well, the psychological fallout it's just catastrophic. Vicente is clearly suffering from severe PTSD. He's living in a constant state of terror and unreality. He's experiencing a profound identity disorder. His entire sense of self has been shattered into a million pieces, and he develops what you could call a prisoner syndrome. It's similar to Stockholm Syndrome, where he seems to submit to his abuser, but it's purely a desperate strategy to stay alive.
And check this out, because this is where things get really fascinating. Look at the stark contrast when you put their brains side by side. Robert's psychopathic amygdala is underactive, a lack of fear. But Vicente's traumatized amygdala is hyperactive. It's screaming, on high alert 24/7, seeing threats everywhere. The perpetrator's brain has a void where fear should be, while the victim's brain is completely drowning in it. It's a terrifying mirror image.
And the trauma, it's like a virus attacking the brain's own filing system, the hippocampus. In people who've suffered severe trauma, this area can actually shrink. This means memories get broken up, they become fragmented, and it's incredibly hard for the survivor to piece together what happened to them in a way that makes sense.
So let's bring this all home. Why does this movie mess with us so much? Why does it just get under our skin and stay there? Well, the answer is that the film acts as a kind of mirror, reflecting our own deepest, most fundamental fears about who we are.
When you look at it from a neurobiological perspective, you get to the real heart of the matter. And it's this: the brain preserves autobiographical memory. That's why Vera is still Vicente. You can change the skin, the shell, the outside, but that core consciousness, the web of memories that make you you, is much, much harder to destroy.
See, the reason this film is so profoundly disturbing is that it's a direct assault on our sense of self. It violates the sacred boundary of the body. It makes us question if our own identity is as stable as we think. And on a brain level, as you watch it, it's lighting up your own amygdala, your fear center, and your insula, which processes disgust. It basically puts your brain on high alert. We feel threatened in a way that feels very, very real.
And so, in the end, it leaves you with this one final haunting question that just echoes long after the movie is over. After all the trauma, all the manipulation, all the physical changes, can a person's soul, their very personality, truly be broken?